Welcome back, everyone, to game number 3. It has been a nail-biter of a series here between St. Clair Saints and the University of Windsor Lancers here. We are now into the pro draft for the third game, and the bands, exactly what we expect them to be, looking like it's going to be the same 6 bands that we've seen in the first 2 games as well. I am curious to see, however, moving into this game number 3, if this drafting phase gives a little bit more attention to Ash Leona, because we've seen how strong that bot lane duo has been over the course of this series.
It's going to be interesting. You were completely correct about the comment I was making. I'm like, do we ban the Nunu? And you're like, no, we just play around it. You execute around it better. And sure enough, St. Clair did exactly that. And the Ashe, because Saints are on the red side, they're actually going to take this off the board right away. It seems to be a very dominant pick so far in this series. So taking that off the board, probably quite wise.
Does mean, however, that the Hecarim has gone through here, and you Windsor immediately hovering the Hecarim pick, going to lock it in. This Hecarim is dominating the meta right now. He is so strong. He's able to clear through his camps so quickly. He is so fast and able to run around the map, run right through your team. And if he gets a lead with that Trinity Force, he's a carry, a tank, a fighter, and an absolute death machine all at once. So very scary pickup here for University of Windsor. But the Saints grabbing that Leona, taking it off the table. That's going to go to Miansu again. He did very well with it in game number 2, and I'm excited to see how he pilots this in game number 3. Those Zenith Blades were on point all throughout the last game.
Oh, this will be a classic combination if we do see this end up happening. Callista Leona is in fact going to get locked in. Of course, with Callista being a little bit more mobile, may be able to deal with the pony of Hecarim a little bit better compared to something like maybe a Caitlyn, for example. But the mid lane possibly being shown already here from the side of the University of Windsor. Cassiopeia being hovered, but of course not locked in yet. Sure enough, that's going to be the case. It's going to be RSM trying his hand at the Cassiopeia.
Yeah, and this Cassiopeia pick is a really strong counter to Callista. That Miasma completely disabling Callista's ability to hop, skip, and jump after those auto attacks. We see the Camille being covered here for the top lane on U Windsor's side, and the immediate snap Orianna for Saints. It looks like they're going for a big press R comp. Yuri loves these press R comps, and he loves drafting them for his team. They are exceptionally good in those mid-game team fights, and the St. Clair Saints have proven that they love to get scrappy around the mid-game. So this Orianna pick really kind of setting the tone for the way this game 3 is going to play out.
A couple more bans. We're going to get that Maokai out of here. I don't know if it was just a matchup thing or what, but they just don't want to deal with it this time. Bye. Let's see now what U Windsor wants to get rid of. Looking at Frez's Shen. Of course, that top lane still left open for them. And then Morgana being taken down. They don't want that bot lane to get locked down in the slightest. Of course, the support and carry are still up in arms here on the side of the Lancers. I'm curious as to who they'll end up taking. They're going to take another shot at Frez's champion pool here. Taking away the Gator. No Renekton this time.
For the St. Clair Saints here, they have the ability to pick the top lane and the jungle they want without fear of having their picks being taken away. And the same for Windsor, they get their bot lane free of charge. That being said, these bans are very targeted here against the U Windsor support. We've taken out the Maokai, even though it didn't do too much, it didn't come up very strong. Number 2, it is a good counter to the Leona, the Morgana as well, a very traditional counter to Leona, but the Blitzcrank here is a very interesting pickup. The Leona is not that bad into Blitzcrank. You can typically follow on the hook shot with your Zenith Blade and kind of join the fight at melee range, but the Blitzcrank Kaisa means that you don't want to fight it at melee range. They actually hovered the Mordekaiser for a second. I was a little nervous to see a big scary threat like that coming into the bottom lane, a very untraditional pickup, but they could revert back to the Kaisa here. We didn't see Kaisa perform very well in game number 1, though. So curious to see what Windsor's thinking with this pick.
Yeah, of course, Lassie picked up the Kaisa in game 1, was not really able to get to the point where they were able to make an impact, but it had a lot to do with the jungler. Meanwhile, this time, for jungle, it's going to be the Olaf coming out here for Trick. First time we're seeing it in this game. Very curious as to how this is going to end up. I mean, you get to completely ignore the ultimates from Hecarim, Cass, like Blitzcrank, all these abilities are going to get completely ignored and allow Olaf to just maybe hop onto Cassiopeia, drop an axe real quick, and try to burst cast down. We'll have to see if the rest of the members of University of Windsor are able to block and peel for their cast. Otherwise, this is going to be a bad time here for RSM.
This Olaf pick is a very risky pick. It's a decent answer to Hecarim. It has similar clear times. It has similar trading patterns. It can typically win those early game river fights for those Scuttle Crabs. However, if the Olaf doesn't get a lead early, he just dies. I was mentioned this previously. I think it was the University of Toronto series. But the best counter to Olaf is to kill him. And it sounds ridiculous, but it's true. The champion does not have very high resistances. And even though you can't lock him or stun him down, if he's running at you, the best solution instead of trying to run away is to turn and kill him. And unfortunately for St. Clair, Cassiopeia and Kaisa are both very good at doing that and doing that quickly. So it's going to be up to Trick to play this early game perfectly. He needs to get himself a level advantage. He needs to get himself an item advantage. And if he can find that strength, then we can see this Olaf popping off. Yeah, so in this fight here now, looking at this composition, there's the Volibear here up in the top lane, comboed with the Orianna ball. That's a really big team fight combo there. So we've got a really good press R comp here coming from St. Clair. Whereas on Windsor's side, they have some big ultimates, but mostly they're looking at making individual picks and translating that into an objective push or a team fight. Taking a head-on 5v5 is not what you want to do when you have the Blitzcrank. They're using the Blitzcrank hookshot into setting up for something like the Camille or the Cassiopeia. They don't have a lot of CC follow-up, however. So Windsor's draft got a lot of strong champions, not a whole lot of synergy. Compared to St. Clair's draft, which is very synergistic. They've really done a good job of focusing out a win condition, isolating it, and doing what they can to push it down. These champions are going to murder towers, they're going to murder objectives, and they're going to dominate these 4v4, 5v5 team fights as well. Unfortunately, it's really going to come down to how this jungle is played out, and unless Trick can find that lead, it's going to be very tricky to shut down this Hecarim.
Now, one thing with this St. Clair squad, though, of course, you have the synergy, you have the combo, but it requires everybody being in position to properly execute. Some of these, like awkward or not awkward team compositions, but more pick-styled, pick-oriented compositions for your Windsor, you might be able to pull it off with maybe like 2 or 3 people going around. Meanwhile, the side of St. Clair, if they're not as a group, they are going to get like bursted essentially if University of Windsor isn't too far behind. So looking forward to seeing how that one turns out here. Frez on Volibear always makes me a little bit worried. We've seen success, but we've also seen him get a little bit run over up in that top lane. But at least he's going up against a champion he knows well.
And it's interesting that this Volibear pick came out. I'm not a top lane player by any stretch of the term. But from what I've seen and from what I've experienced and watching, especially from competitive play, this lane is pretty Camille favored. But Frez picked the Volibear after the Camille. If I remember correctly, that may be incorrect. It might have been the Volibear first, but I believe it was the Volibear getting picked up because it was the bot lane that got picked up first for St. Clair. No, that's correct. The Volibear did come out in the second phase after the Camille was picked. Sorry, I had to get that straight in my head.
You're good.
You don't really want to counterpick yourself. You don't really want to counterpick yourself. So Frez, obviously being very comfortable on Camille, might know the lane better than the rest of us and knows how to pilot this lane. But if it is truly a Camille favored lane, definitely an interesting choice to kind of put yourself in that disadvantage in the top lane. That being said, honestly, looking at the drafts overall, if I'm on St. Clair, I'm feeling pretty good about the way that I've drafted this team right now. We did let the pony slide, but aside from that, everything else looks pretty good. Got great synergy, got great pick-making potential, good balance with CC and damage. I'm a fan. I love it.
It'll definitely be an interesting one. Nonetheless, of course, can RSM finally get that breakout game that he's been looking for the side of University of Windsor? He always seems like he's been a bit second fiddle to either the jungler in the first game or Young Tiller. But even though he's not necessarily had the greatest of like standout performances so far, I still feel like he's just right on that tipping point where he can just pop off. And being able to do that on a Cassiopeia would do an absolute ton of damage and make St. Clair's life extremely difficult. But yeah, of course, looking at the team composition itself, however, the team fight looks really good here for St. Clair. And if they're able to find those 5v5s, or even just St. Clair being as a group nonetheless, I feel like it is going to go into their favor. But you absolutely never know. And before we do hop into that first game, or not first game, into the third game, the final, the decider here between University of Windsor and St. Clair College, a big thank you, of course, to the sponsors at the Zeckelman School of Business and IT, St. Clair College itself, Tim Hortons, St. Clair SRC, PC Outlet, and St. Clair Alumni Association. Thank you all. Would not be able to do it without you. And thank you also to everybody tuning in today. It's been quite the interesting day, to say the least, here on the Saints Gaming CA channel. I'm so happy to see everybody tuning in to support their program, their friends, family, their classmates, and letting them pursue their esports endeavors. We're definitely happy to have you, and I'm looking forward to this decider. No matter what happens results-wise here for this Game 3, I really look forward to the return of this matchup.
Going into this game number 3, a big thing that's really going to affect how this game plays out is the mental game. In any best of 3 or best of 5 series, there is a significant amount of tilt involved, no matter the level of play. If a game doesn't go your way, it does typically affect the way that you play it in future games. Now, for St. Clair, they just saw Iron come off a pretty disappointing game 2 compared to the way he played in game number 1. If they're able to kind of punish that mental game, they can force some awkward plays out of him. We saw it happen last game where Nunu would kind of walk through the middle lane without really having the backup established there. It looked like some pretty tilted plays. And if you can force these tilted plays out of the Windsor squad, you can kind of swing the game back in your favor. St. Clair, even though the game 1 didn't go their way, they kept a pretty good mental game. They had a really decent hold over what was happening, even though they were getting snowballed into. They had like good communication. They weren't taking too many tilted fights. It was more misreads here. But here against you, Windsor, now going into game 3, we've seen offline have some unfortunate fights in the top lane. We've seen RSM wanting to participate in these fights but not finding his way in. We've seen Iron pull a complete 180 from hard carrying his team to sandbagging his team in game number 2. And if you can abuse these points in the mental game here and really put your pressure down onto these solo laners for you, Windsor, you can run away with this game. So I'm interested to see how Trick sets up his initial path here. Coming up from the red side, I would not be surprised to see something like a full clear into a top lane gank, maybe onto this Camille. We'll see how these teams posture. It's unlikely to see an early game initiation from St. Clair. That being said, there is a Blitzcrank pull available for Windsor. So the stacking in response to this Blitzcrank might be the choice they make. However, looks like St. Clair is setting themselves up for a traditional 5-point. They really like this start.
And this is the decider. Game number 3 between University of Windsor and St. Clair College underway. The first ever Windsor battle, essentially, here between these two teams in league action. Of course, I see there's definitely the mixture between St. Clair and University of Windsor fans in the chat, so be sure to, respectively, cheer on your squad the best you possibly can here, because they're both going to need your energy here in this final game.
Absolutely. That energy is super important, not just from the fans, but also from your team, from your coach, and from yourself. You know, keep yourself in the game. Keep your head in the game. That's how you win. We can talk about compositions until the end of the day, and none of it's going to matter if you have the better mental and the better gameplay. So really just comes down to which team can come up on top here. I am excited to see how this Olaf plays out in this game. I think a lot is riding on Trick for this game 3. And after his performance in game number 2, I have a lot more faith in him to carry this game here for St. Clair.
Should definitely be playing hot considering how well that first game went, but of course the clean slate now here for this final matchup. And RSM already getting a little bit harassed. I feel like this is probably going to happen for the first couple of levels here, as we see Yule just really putting himself into a very aggressive position. Auto attacks and Qs just going to make RSM's life a little bit difficult. Ooh, good damage.
I have to say, I don't play a lot of Orianna. I like those assassin types mid lanes, but today I kind of boot camped myself a little bit, tried her out in a couple games, and she's annoying to deal with in lane, for sure. You take those auto attacks to the face, they start chunking after a little while there. Frez going in for the Thunderstorm trade there, missing the E there down onto offline. Offline got a little bit of a health advantage here, but Frez with the level advantage. In the bottom lane, same deal. Windsor has the push on St. Clair now. Goku is looking for the hook shot. He misses the rocket grab there onto the bottom lane. Loz's going to walk back into lane. He's going to be happy farming that here. Iron is just clearing through his camps like crazy with the red into Raptors into blue side. He's posturing himself up top lane, likely looking for a mid lane gank with the way that Yule is positioning himself. This early game is going to mean a lot for this game. I am so excited.
Definitely looking forward to it as well. I'm curious to see how offline does the later this game goes on. Finally back on the champion where he was at least a massive split push threat and was able to make it himself a little bit of a thorn in the side of St. Clair. But we do see very scary trades here for Frez, actually. Offline coming off the better overall in that one.
There is for Frez, it's important to note how the players are crafting their rune and mastery pages here before we go into the game. With the runes being taken up, he does have the biscuits available, which means that he does have more regen available to him in these fights. So even though these trades look like they're going offline's way, Frez is happy to pop those biscuits. That being said, there is a Hecarim postured on the top lane. He's clearing out the Scuttle Crab, and he looks like zone Frez completely off the lane. Frez is going to take the reset here, but that Hecarim is looking at the mid lane now. Trick with the great map read. He's sitting in the brush. As soon as that Hecarim...
Here we go.
Trick is going to walk into the mid lane here, but in the bottom lane as well, there's a kill now for Laws, and that's first blood in the bottom lane. Mietsu getting the stun onto Killer here, looking for it now. There's the double kill for Lozzy. Great combination with the Kalista Leona, and they played it perfectly. Nothing ended up happening in the middle lane. Trick kind of just chasing this Hecarim now. He knows he has the pressure from Mietsu, and look at Mietsu. I love this man. He gets the kill bot lane and immediately starts walking mid lane. He knows what his role is, and he is honestly just a great second jungler for his team. AM Trick with the throwing axe, barely missing that kill onto RSM in the mid lane.
This is definitely a nightmare situation for the University of Windsor. You let a double kill go, and of course first blood as well, and it all went on to Lazzy. That is going to be a scary Kalista as this game goes on. Yep,
Kalista picking up that Berserker Greaves already means not only a ton more attacks, but actually just about to make me bite my tongue there.
Switch it up, yeah.
Greaves for the Cutlass there. The Berserker Greaves is usually what you see picked up on the Kalista. Not only does it give you an extended jump range on your passive, but it also increases your attack speed significantly, meaning it's easier to stack up your spears for that Rend pull on the E with that big burst of damage that we saw coming out in that bot lane 2v2. Going for the Cutlass, however, means he might be looking to get a little scrappier. He's got some lifesteal, he's got an active slow. It's a little bit different of a playstyle. He's not necessarily looking for pokes. They're looking to all in. And with a Leona as your support, there is nothing stopping you from finding that all in and making it work.
Okay, I'm kind of like sitting there as this is actually a good opportunity here for RSM. Gets extremely close. Is the poison going to be enough to tick Yule down? Not quite, but he's at least going to be able to battle it back and forth, be able to shove this lane in. Nobody from St. Clair is able to get to that mid lane in time to force a punish. Like I was going to say, down for this bot lane, if I am Mientsfo, I'm looking at Brazilian Goku, and I was like, come on, man, I'm right here. I dare you to pull me. Pull me, man. Nothing bad will happen, I promise. Meanwhile, we just instantly stun lock him and allow Lazzy to go absolutely crazy. But we also do see Trick posturing for that dragon, possibly in the midst of taking it down. Should be able to actually solo it, as we do also now see Ironed still having a hard time getting himself started ever since the first game. Looking to try and make something happen. Top was sitting on the ward from Frez. That's going to be a Infernal Drake over to St. Clair.
Iron's playing a little bit scared based on how he played in the first game. Like, he's putting a lot of pressure on this top lane matchup with the Camille. The Camille is not your win condition friend, and you are giving him way more attention than he deserves right now in this matchup. With this bot lane 2v2 going so heavily in St. Clair's favor, if this Kalista gets out of hand, the game is just over. So, if I'm Ironed right now, I'm looking at clearing out this bot lane and trying to do some damage now before this Kalista gets out of hand. That dragon going to a trick, though, is going to be massive for St. Clair. If they can get themselves to the soul first, it's going to be big. But here comes the ultimate getting committed now in the top lane by Frez. There is next to no mana being available here for offline. There is the flash W looking for a way out, but Frez with the flash into the storm. There's the stun, the punch down from the Thunder God. Volibear with the solo kill in the top lane. Frez coming up strong here in game number 3.
An absolute turnaround compared to what we've seen from game number 1. St. Clair definitely have their wits about them. Most of the time, we see Frez kind of go even in lane, maybe slightly behind. Frez ahead in lane is absolutely going to be disgusting in the best way possible. Meanwhile, solid back and forth trade here between RSM and Yule. That's probably going to happen consistently throughout this match. Both of those mid laners could probably chip each other out and burst each other down. We'll have to see. He's going to look for it, forces the flash. We'll see a lot of that, whether it's the shockwave or the ultimate from Cassiopeia. It's basically going to be forcing flashes even in 1v1 scenarios.
And look at this bot lane setting up the freeze a little bit here in the bottom side. They know that they're stronger than Windsor's lane. They know that Tiller just had to go back to base from a little bit of a poke damage that they put down in that bot side. And this is how you build a farm advantage. Previously, the farm was tied. Now it's a 10 creep score lead for Lazi here. Up in the top lane, a little bit of a trade going back and forth. Offline with the hook shot into Frez, poking him down to about 50% health lane. But these lanes are incredibly volatile. That mid lane trade looked very scary. At any point, Cassiopeia can just drop that ulti and burst out Yule. However, Yule, with a 20-point creep score lead here in the middle lane, gonna shove out this wave, look for that reset. Likely gonna be the lost chapter online here, but here comes the Hecarim committing the ulti. Yule flashing out with Miansfu behind. Might have been a little bit of an overcommitment there on that flash, but getting himself out of harm's way nonetheless. Lazi now 1v2 in the bottom lane.
Nice
Dodging the rocket grab. No harm, no foul. Miansfu coming in for the flank. Might go in for a 2v2 here on the bottom side, but here comes Frez with the shield. The Kalista ult getting committed. Miansfu jumping onto Blitzcrank. Lazi looking for the commitment here. He's got the Ren stacked up. Just 1 or 2 autos should do it. There's a killing spree now for the Kalista. Level 7 versus level 5 on this AD carry. A 20 CS lead, 3 kills advantage. St. Clair is on fire right now.
It's one of those things where Leona doesn't really care about some of these early levels. Level 5, I mean, you don't have your ultimate quite yet, but you can still do the majority of your kit with what you have already. Able to zip in there, stun lock people. I like the fact they just used the ultimate from Lazi just for essentially positional, make it extremely difficult for Goku to go anywhere. But we see RSM really trying to get aggressive, but busts out the ghosts and nothing happens as Yule, once he sees that happening, just instantly goes back under his turret. And sure enough, there is a kill down bot lane. Look who's creeping up back to mid lane. Yansfo looking to make the play.
And it's just such a smart move from Yansfo to do this for so many reasons. Not only does he provide so much value to his team, where the enemy jungler in this case, this Hecarim, he's been hard farming. Not only is he getting out farmed, but he's getting out ganked, not just by the enemy jungler, but by the enemy support as well. And every time Yansfo leaves lane, as long as Lazi doesn't get punished under his tower, that means Lazi is getting solo experience. This is why we see such a high level discrepancy in this bot lane when St. Clair plays this game, because Yansfo plays such a great roam game. His AD carry gets all these resources, all this farm, these farm scores for St. Clair. Roughly 100 CS in 10 minutes. That's perfect farm nearly for both these carries now on the St. Clair side. Just a phenomenal start here. 2k gold advantage here. Little trade coming up from Frez in the top lane. Gonna walk out of there no more than likely. Just having some fun.
X-Dragon is here and ready to go. Trick and Miansfo already there, ready and waiting. We do see the roam coming out, actually. Frez might get himself baited, but not if he could take one down beforehand. Is able to take offline out before finally going down. They're going to give the kill over to RSM, but at least it was a 1-for-1.
A top lane matchup with the Camille into the Volibear. Typically the reason why the Camille is such a good counter into the Volibear is because not only do you have these quick and easy trade patterns with your hook shot, you also have the ability to dodge the Volibear ultimate with your own ultimate. However, if you commit your ultimate first, Volley gets to jump on you for free. And it's such a massive damage swing. We saw it come out heavy for Frez. 250 to 300 damage there, getting slammed down onto this Camille with no resistances. That hurts.
Absolutely. Now 2 dragons on the board for St. Clair. It looks like Tiller trying to make something happen. I don't think I've seen Goku hit a single damn hook so far in this game. Feels bad, man. But we do see junglers matching each other shot for shot. And if anything, Trick might actually take this one. Forces the ults, but he's going to be taken down pretty low. They're still going to try and make this happen. Brazilian Goku going down to about half. That hook getting dodged again from the side of St. Clair. Yule debating on making a trip down from mid lane, but it's going to opt against it. And St. Clair are going to hold on to that gold lead with 2 dragons, and the team just looking fantastic so far. It's going to be quite the mountain to climb as we see RSM get caught by the shockwave, and it's almost about to go down. That last ball missing is going to keep himself in the game for the time being, but not for long.
Frick in this jungle position, getting a little bit aggressive there on that bot lane trade, put himself in a little bit of harm's way probably before he wanted to. Frez taking a bit of an extended trade in this top lane, not looking like it's going his way. Even though he has 2 kills to the 0-2 Camille, Camille is still winning these trades. It's a very scary lane here for the Volibear. Now, with the Kaisa having based and recalled, Lazi's going to be able to shove out this wave here, get the push under the tower, maybe even take a plate or 2, and continue to build this gold advantage. Now a 20 CS lead with 3 kills. The Blade of the Rune King is already finished, and he's sitting on a bunch of gold as well. Lazi's feeling really good right now.
Lazi's feeling good right now. Yule's feeling fantastic, and he's not going to get stunned up by that either. So that's so many resources gone. But you have to watch out for the pony down bot lane. Mansfield going to go for it anyway. I think that was the hook actually coming down from Goku, but can they trade it? In fact, they're going to be able to. The Hecarim going down. Frez is winning that battle, it looks like, up in the top lane as well. It could very well get flipped over. Offline going to run for the hills. And nobody can stop Lazi right now.
Lazi's in this bot lane. He's 1 versus 2 right now. And look, he's making aggressive plays, flashing in onto Goku. He forces out the flash from the Blitzcrank, misses the Q follow-up on Young Tiller. The bot lane's going to be able to walk away, but Lazi, 1 versus 2 now. Trick here with the flank onto offline. Likely going to be the kill soon to follow. They're postured up in that top side jungle. They can easily clear that out and look Herald. This Hecarim is falling so far behind. Not only is he down a level, but he's down roughly 15 to 20 CS. That's about 3 or 4 camps now that Trick is out farming him in. And the exact same amount of kill participation as well. It's honestly just an out-jungling game. This game is looking like a little bit of jungle difference here with that Rift Herald being taken down now at 14 minutes here. Big leads coming up for St. Clair, a 5K, 6K gold lead, in fact, at 14.5 minutes.
Well, this could be a little bit overzealous from Yule. You don't want to teleport right on top of a Cassiopeia, and he's going to just, unfortunately, not find his mark for that one. It was a warning shot, I suppose. But
zoning alt center.
Oh, it was all just for Trick to show up with the ults ready to go, Ragnarok and roll, but it's not going to be the case. It's the ults coming out here from Iron. It's going to slow things down, but Mansfell is here once again. The hook is going to land onto him. They're going to get 1 at least, but does Mansfell go down? Stopwatch going to come on out, but it might actually bait some of the other members from the University of Windsor to go through, but not actually going to be the case. Not enough damage to make that happen. Almost got Irons, but they do trade 1 for 1 in the end.
Yule whipping that shockwave before that fight breaks out means that that fight cannot go as cleanly as they would like it to. If the shockwave was available, it's basically an ace. So
they all would have been gone for sure.
Windsor definitely abusing that resource, the lack of the ultimate being available, taking down that kill there. It's going to be nice for RSM. He's got himself 2 kills now. He's looking at that Seraph's Embrace. It's coming up shortly. Is going to find some scaling into this late game, but St. Clair with such a massive lead in the early game, if they can close this one out quickly, it's not going to matter.
The Saints are definitely on pace to do so, and now they're hovering around that dragon once again, just around the corner. Frez looking to possibly make the duel with RSM, who does not have his Ghost, Flash, or Ultimate. Could be a sitting duck. Iron is nearby, however. But there are more reinforcements coming here for St. Clair. They do see Iron in the sidelines, but they're going to go for it anyway. RSM is completely stuck and is probably no longer here for this world. Gets taken down. Frez going to get himself his 3rd elimination on the day.
Cassiopeia right before the dragon spawns means it's going to be a very easy fight here for St. Clair. This Blitzcrank postured over the wall is not going to be able to do too much for his team, especially with Miansfu and Frez being such dominant tank threats. You don't want to pull this Volibear into your team right now. He is just too strong.
There's too much damage on his own. There goes the dragon as well. There are just too many threats. Right now, the only kills on the side of Windsor on the support. And granted, yes, he got 2 onto RSM, so that's solid in itself. But this objective game, the farming game, is looking too much to handle. Shelly coming into play here for this inside turret. However, a nice little hook there this time from Brazilian Goku. Barely going to keep Mansfield alive with the ultimate from Lazi. Get him out of dodge, and they get the turret for it. So far, so good, but there is at least offline up in the top lane. Look to maybe take that turret down.
There's a little bit of farming happening up in the top lane, but right now everything is coming up St. Clair. This tier 2 mid tower being broken down in the mid lane means that they have full access over the map. A little fight being broken out down here. Trick gonna get himself out of there. Frez caught out of position, gonna get picked off. They give the kill to Young Taylor. Good discipline from Windsor to put that gold onto your carry. The mana immune is completed, and he's looking at that Windsor's Rage Blade right about now to get themselves a little bit more ability power damage in this game. Not finished just yet. Once that Gwynsus comes online, though, that's a pretty big buy for this Kaisa. We'll see how it affects these team fights, if it does even at all. Yule with the cheeky steal from the brush. That's a nice little gold boost for sure. We're looking at that Moronomicon, I believe, for the Orianna. That anti-heal is going to be very big against this Cassiopeia and this Hecarim in these team fights.
I mean, you've seen Yule pilot that essentially perfection during the second game to the point where he was able to essentially 1v3 and still not go down. So the fact that they're getting ready to line themselves up with an anti-healing item, since you just abused it or used it yourself, you know exactly what to do to stop it. And just every little thing here from St. Clair seems to be going in their way. Granted, they're down on bot lane where Frez went down. That's definitely a hate-to-see-it kind of moment. You're going in to kind of back up your partner, but they had the blast off to get out of dodge, so you end up just putting yourself in danger. You definitely hate to see it, but hopefully Frez is laughing that one off.
A little bit of a miscommunication there for sure. Not going to affect too much in the grand scheme of things. Frez, even though he has 3 kills, he is definitely not his team's win condition. He's not sitting on a very big bounty right now at all either. Right now, the biggest threats for St. Clair are these carries, the Callista and the Orianna. And until either one of them falls, St. Clair is feeling really good about how these team fights are going to look. Frez does have the teleport available, likely looking to use it here when this Baron spawns. I don't think they'll be able to take it right away, but Callista is very good at shredding through objectives. And St. Clair is posturing on the top side of the map. They have their eyes on the Baron.
Yeah, they're already on it, ready to go, and there's some more reinforcements right around the corner. Frez has that TP ready to go if anything crazy does happen to go down. But this is going to be the second game in a row where we see St. Clair making an early 20-minute Baron call. But this time, it's been full domination for them. 3 dragons on top of this as well means Soul is right around the corner. This is not going to be contested in the slightest. This is absolute pure domination.
They just gave it away for free. You Windsor, I mean, it's not like there's a whole lot they can do with a nearly 10k gold lead already at the 20-minute mark. But you Windsor, spoon-feeding the Baron for that cheeky steal there for St. Clair, that's massive.
Gosh, this is going to be rough here for Young Tiller and RSM. That Cassiopeia poison needs to be as toxic as some of their community members because they need something really quick and really potent to take care of the St. Clair squad if a team fight actually does go in their favor, because they are just struggling to make anything happen right now. Objectives falling away, towers all gone. The minion difference, the CS numbers, other than offline up in the top lane, who's doing a solid job nonetheless, but still behind. Everybody from Windsor is behind, and they're going to be hoping for a massive misplay from St. Clair to get themselves back in this game.
I don't think they're going to find it either. St. Clair has a great macro read right now. They know that the dragon is spawning, and they're setting themselves up for it. RSM looked like he wanted to go in there on the Miansfu, but he makes the right choice and backs away. He knows that the rest of the team is behind him. Miansfu being able to take these aggressive roams, he already has a massive item being completed there with the Gargoyle Stone Plate on the support position. That is a big buy for Leona. That is a very tanky initiator here. And Leona makes a great ball carrier in this team, actually going in for the engage here. Miansfu looking for the Solar Eclipse, doesn't find the stun, gets the slow onto Goku. Windsor's just going to walk out of that one, but while they're walking away, Trick is just murdering this dragon. That's going to be the Dragon Soul here. It's the Wind Soul now. Miansfu flashing over the wall here, going to get himself out of dodge, not going to drop here. So now, looking at St. Clair, it's a 10k gold lead, it's Dragon Soul, it's a Baron power play. It is terrifying.
This is extremely terrifying for the side of Windsor. They need to get under their turrets. They need to get ready to hope that Brazilian can land himself a pick, get a hook more than maybe one or two so far in this game, and need something to happen because right now it's been absolute slaughter. This bot turret is not long for this world. It is going to be taken down momentarily between the two members there. The reinforcements on the way and that Baroned up cannon minion. Okay, solid there from Brazilian Goku. Would have found that hook and forced the ultimate out of Trick. To be honest, if I was Trick, I probably would have just let that happen and saved the ultimate. But nonetheless, they're able to move towards this mid-turret. They might be able to get the jump onto Miansfu, however. Hook misses. This could be the opportunity to get something going. Trick getting blown up pretty badly. Shockwave going to find nobody except RSM. Going to try and make that ultimate happen. Here comes Frez diving in huge, getting himself a quick double kill. And now St. Clair have free reign to this mid-turret.
There was just so much that went right for St. Clair in that team fight. The snap QSS from Lazi into the Cassiopeia ulti. The fight is not over. The Camille going back in for a last hurrah there. They do get the pick onto the Callista. Frez getting kited out here by Taylor. That's two kills now going Windsor's way. Decent kind of punish on this overextension here from St. Clair. But that first fight, everything looked clean.
I mean, for that first little initiation, Lazi and Miansfu, I do not think were there at that engagement. For the longest time, it was a 3-on-5, and University of Windsor were able to punish it so that later on, as that fight went down, Lazi was exposed. I think it was Frez was exposed. A couple more members of St. Clair out of position and could not, survive. They needed to group up at the very end there, and they might have pulled the trigger just ever so slightly too soon. And that put some decent shutdown gold into the pockets of University of Windsor. Granted, that gold lead is still quite significant, but if things like that keep on happening, I'm not going to count Windsor out of this one.
But look at these items, Standard. Lazi, Blade of the Ruined King, Runon's Hurricane, Mercurial Scimitar. It is 24 minutes, and this man hits like a truck. And not only does he hit like a truck, he hits like a truck to your entire front line. By the time Cassiopeia has found one kill, Lazi is onto his fifth. This is a very scary Callista right now, and if St. Clair abuses the strength that they have in their AD carry, there is no reason why they can't just walk into Windsor's base and claim it for themselves.
Oh, by his lonesome over here. Had he got picked out, there would have been absolutely no hope for him. Granted, still doing a fantastic job in this game, currently deathless as well. But as strong as you are doing solo, you cannot take on the team solo. Just going to go back down to that bot lane, has TP if necessary. Push a swave as Baron is right around the corner.
Setting up Orianna in the bot lane is a bit of an interesting choice. You typically want to have that Orianna there right when the fight breaks out so you can set up those shockwaves. Might be looking for a shockwave flank. The flash isn't available, but you do have the ability to teleport behind and set up that ball in a place where Windsor isn't expecting it to be. If you can get that good shockwave, there's no reason why the base will not fall immediately afterwards. That being said, Frez has a much better and safer pushing pattern, and I'm curious to see how they can approach this lane setup. It looks like they're expanding into that traditional 1-3-1 now. Frez is doing a bit of work here onto this top lane tower. Going to have to back out here as Windsor rotates on top of him. But the farm leads just continue to increase for St. Clair.
And Baron now up, ready to go. It's a matter if St. Clair can actually group up at the same time. they should be able to find themselves a pick, but of course the University of Windsor's team is much more tailored for that sort of thing. We do see pretty much everybody but Yule ready to go. Frez is going to get caught out, but you just got the berry. Actually, doesn't matter. They blow him up anyway. That's actually kind of huge. Miensfo out of position, going to be forced to use his ultimate in an awkward situation, but that is huge. That shockwave did manage to snag 2, but at the same time, was it the critical targets? I'm not quite sure. Our RSM still finally getting blown up, was getting a ton of damage down, but eventually got jumped upon. The only ones left here is Offline and Irons, and Iron is nearly taken down. Do St. Clair opt for the Baron? They don't exactly have Trick available, so Iron might be able to make the hero play, so they're probably going to just opt for that inhibitor and back out of there.
Miller put himself in harm's way and then flashed out over the wall back out. A real unfortunate misstep for the Kalista in that team, or for the Kai'Sa rather, in that team fight. Might have gone a little bit differently if there hadn't been that overextension there. They did have a very good initiation onto Frez, Windsor, with the hook coming out from Goku, being able to pull Volibear over the wall. The ult didn't even get committed, but Frez still has his ultimate available.
It did blow him up pretty quickly. That was crazy.
Well, looking at the builds, right, Frez is built mostly damage. He's got some defensive items coming up now, but the Black Cleaver Iceborne Gauntlet build is not all that defensive, and especially when most of the threats on the enemy team are ability power, that armor doesn't really mean a whole lot in these team fights. Grouping up now for this Elder Dragon. 28-minute Elder, nearly the steal from Trick, leaving the Scuttlecraft on 1 HP. Taylor's going to pick that up for his team. A big chunk of damage coming out here from Yule on the sidelines. Trick's in a really good position for this flank. If St. Clair can find the initiation they need, this could be the game. Everything's very scary now for Windsor with the bot minion wave crashing against their inhibitor turret. St. Clair has the advantage here. They have priority over this objective. Frez coming in for a flank from the middle lane, looking to deliver that ball into the enemy team. Trick currently sitting with the ball now, looking for a way of delivering that shockwave. Ballista racking up these spears onto the Elder Drake, looking for a rend here to blow this objective up before Windsor can react.
Now, what does Elder Drake do that the normal Dragon does not if they don't engage?
This Elder Drake, if they can get this security on this Elder Drake, it's a 20, it can murder anybody underneath 20% health. It's an absolute execute on any enemy champion damage below 20% of their maximum health, which means execute abilities like the Rend are going to hit so much harder when they have that initial burst. But look at that damage coming out from Yule. The shockwave being committed now onto RSM.
Oh, we got it!
The Elder Steel coming out from Iron. That's big for Windsor. They get a couple pickoffs here. If they can survive, though, it's not going to matter. Frez getting the kill there now. Onto Young Tiller now. That's 4 dead on Windsor's side. And even though they managed to steal the Elder Drake, it is a 3 versus 1 now on this Nexus. Frez teleporting into the middle lane, gonna clean up the inhibitor. The only man alive for Windsor is Brazilian Goku. This Blitzcrank does not have the resources to defend this on his own. Can St. Clair close it out in time? They have 20 seconds to break the Nexus. This is game number 3 here. A massive gold lead, but it's not gonna mean anything if they can't break the base. And here it comes. Here goes in Nexus Tower number 1, soon to be Nexus Tower number 2. St. Clair beating University of Windsor 2-1 in this best of 3 series.
Absolutely crazy turnaround compared to how that first game went. But St. Clair, of course, like you said, going to take this victory 2-1. And that last game that wasn't even close, to be completely frank with you. That was painful for University of Windsor. Something didn't seem to click. Lazzy just went on fire right off the start. Mansfield right there behind him as well, if not leading the charge rather. But being able to get that Kalista 2 kills, it was a double kill in the bot lane extremely quickly. He just didn't stop from there. Got picked once during that entire fight when it was a bit of a split engage. But then everybody else just followed up as well. Trick was answering anything that Iron was trying to do. Frez won his lane, which, like I was saying before, normally it's even or slightly behind. Took care of that lane. MJC3 offline wasn't even that split push threat this time compared to game number 1. And everybody got shut down. RSM was starting to get to the point where he can start dealing some damage, but didn't have enough time. did not get the start he was looking for. And then Tiller once again on the Kaisa. Kaisa just did not work today for anybody, apparently. Could not scale it long enough. The games were too quick and was able to close it out. St. Clair 2-1.
This game, I think, really came down to the way that the teams drafted. I think St. Clair's draft just spelled so much devastation for all of the objectives on University of Windsor's side. Unfortunately for you, Windsor, even though their comp had some abilities to make some picks, the Hecarim did not do his job. The Hecarim was basically irrelevant for the entire early game. The Blitzcrank could not find a hook until very late stages of the game. The Camille getting taken out of the top lane means that all of these champions that are designed to help you find your picks in your team are not able to do their jobs. And these late game ability power carries in the Cassiopeia and the Kaisa can't do their damage if they can't find their picks. So St. Clair abusing that opening, abusing those weaknesses, out-drafting, outplaying, outbraining. Good game, 2-1 in this best of 3.
It was fantastic nonetheless, and happy to see that this was an exciting game 3 match. Of course, the last one may have been a bit of an anticlimactic finish, to say the least. I was hoping for a back and forth, but the Windsor are not going to give us that one today, but that's A-okay. This is still just the first time we've gotten the chance to play them in any of their esports titles, and I definitely do look forward to continuing this University of Windsor / St. Clair College mini rivalry that we have going on. I know I absolutely love seeing everybody in chat pushing on their guys, pushing on the team, and cheering them on. It's something I want to see happen more often, especially with maybe some of the other titles as well that University of Windsor do happen to have. Ooh, it's been quite the night.
It's been a really big, really crazy night for sure. I'm really happy to see how the St. Clair squad kind of tightened up their gameplay a little bit. Previously in some games, we've seen them have really strong lanes, but weaker macro sense and making some overextensions where they don't need to, forcing fights that they don't need to. But overall today, very good decision-making from all of these players. Miansfu came up heavy. Trick came up heavy. Frez, as you mentioned, showing up in the top lane. Yule and Lazi, of course, they've always been these reliable carries, but without having their team behind them to enable them, it's tricky to find the wins. And today, everyone came up on St. Clair's team, and that's how they were able to close out tonight's game.
It's definitely a good one. Shadi, I thank you so much, of course, for commentating once again here with me. Of course, you're doing all sorts of things, like competing in Hearthstone Varsity. You're coaching League of Legends for the club team. You're commentating here with me today. I'm definitely happy to see how much you've been pushing this esports thing, and you're doing a fantastic job. I thank you once again.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here. I love supporting the St. Clair Saints, and I love casting great games like this. It was awesome to cast the Windsor versus Windsor game tonight, and I look forward to many League of Legends games to come over the rest of the OPSE season.
There'll definitely be more to come. And speaking of additional matches, going to quickly throw it over to our schedule, of course, because if you have not followed already, there is still tons of action in this upcoming week and going into next week here on the Saints Gaming CA channel. Of course, Friday, 8:30, we have the Rainbow Six Siege Collegiate R6 playoffs. We're in week number 2, and that'll be an exciting matchup, of course. Then Halloween, we've got a doubleheader. Oddly enough, it says 2 different months, but you know what I mean. It's still the 31st. It's still October. But Saturday at 3 p.m., the R6 Collegiate Championships continue. And then later on that night, 7 p.m., Call of Duty Modern Warfare for some TESPA action. Sunday, we get ourselves an off day. But then on Monday, we get right back into it. 2 Rocket League matches back-to-back as we have the UCEA season continuing. Then on Tuesday, it's NACE playoff season, the first week of that. So we'll see our Rocket League team in action. You don't want to miss these matches. Make sure you tune in. And then one more time, I'm just curious, is there any other final thoughts in regards to this matchup?
I mean, I could talk about League of Legends all day and all night, but that's enough from me. I've really enjoyed being here on the desk tonight. I love casting beside you. Mr. Danners, it's a great time as always. And thank you so much to everybody for tuning into the stream tonight. We look forward to seeing you over the course of the week to come support your St. Clair Saints in the rest of our games. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Big thank you to everybody once again. This is probably some of the higher numbers we've seen on the channel in a long time. So again, thank you so much for supporting the classmates, your friends, and your school's programs as well. University of Windsor, I know you guys are just getting started. I know you're not done yet. We look forward to seeing you next time in whichever esport title it happens to be in. But for now, we're going to be signing off. It's been quite the day, and we'll get right back at it again tomorrow. So long, and good night, everybody.